Colin is the president and CEO of HTEC, which stands for Hydrogen Technology and Engineering Corporation. He's a professional mechanical engineer with more than 30 years of experience in the hydrogen sector, the founder of HTEC and driving force behind the development of BC's hydrogen station network. I'll leave it there for you, Colin, and take us away. Thank you.
All right, thanks a lot. And yeah, very pleased to be able to speak here. And I realize I have negative 15 minutes, so I think I can make it pretty concise. No problem at all. So yeah, so we're kind of the passionate group that you know, every day sort of asked who wants hydrogen, how can we get it to them, how can we make some a sustainable company to do that. So those are all important steps that we're thinking about. So I wanted just to get into a real quick, help people understand the supply chain and what we do in that sector. So next slide, please. So it is important to understand what hydrogen is and what it enables. It's an energy carrier. It enables carbon management and use of renewables, and it enables efficient use through systems like the fuel cell, and it enables zero tailpipe emissions. So from those fundamentals, we get into the elements of the supply chain. So HTEC's involved in the production / packaging, and what I mean that is the compression or liquefaction of it, and then you're going to move it. Our movement is on the roads at this point in time, and then there's the dispensing or fueling stations, or bunkering, I guess, in the terms that'll be used for the marine sector. So so we tend to do a lot of partnering with the groups on the energy supply, and then as well as on the hydrogen consumer side of its things. So HTEC's role here is we get involved in project development, design, engineering. So we're designing the complete hydrogen solution, and that doesn't mean just the dispenser. There's a lot of stuff behind it, as I mentioned. And then we are owning and operating the infrastructure if clients want us to, or we're building it and or operating it for clients, depending on what the need is. So jumping to the next slide. I just wanted to give people some pictures of what this stuff looks like. So on the top left there is really what their retail world looks like. So it's a drop-in replacement. Anybody can show up, put their credit card in, fill up their car, and be off for 500 kilometers or 600 kilometers. And we've managed to, with a lot of government policy and support, provide that hydrogen at the same cost as gasoline on a diesel basis. On the right there, just some of the production. The bottom right is actually a purification and capture of a byproduct of hydrogen. So one of the important parts of hydrogen is to understand what else it can help us use in the sense of curtailed renewables or vented byproduct from industry. So it's an energy carrier that has a lot of potential that we continually think about and try and drive that cost down, the reliability up. On the left is a picture of the Whistler Transit bus, and I put that there to help people sort of understand the scale of what a marine system might look like. So this was probably enough for about 40 or 50 transit buses. So excuse me, about 1,000 kilograms of hydrogen, which is about 1,000 gallons of diesel a day equivalent. So you go back to the BC Ferries presentation, we'll give you an idea of what the hydrogen storage and processing on site might want to look like if it's delivered as a liquid. If you have on-site generation from electrolysis or even natural gas with some kind of sequestration, you start to have to think about where you place these things, how you fuel them. If we're talking about bunkering, that's a whole, on barge bunkering, that's a whole another area that we need to start thinking about. And Rona's mention of the High Safe is an initiative we've joined as well. That's super important to just work through all these challenges so we know and we can package this up so it can be done cost effectively and safely. Next slide. So just from our perspective, we are building the infrastructure across Canada and down the West Coast. So ports are a keen focus and interest of ours. There is opportunities in the north for using local energy that's worth discussing, for perhaps not in this forum, but hydrogen does enable long-term storage. There's projects that are using hydrogen for storage over the winter at mines in remote areas. So it's worth considering how hydrogen can help in the northern, because I know we're talking about northern oceans to some degree. But one of the things we show on this map is we're starting to put in that infrastructure to create that reliability, and that's in having service people, having backup supply strategies to again enable users to rely on the hydrogen and move beyond the demonstration side of things. Next slide. So discussion points, I do want to make sure, again, what I've repeated here is that, there is energy is an important aspect to see where we're going to get our hydrogen from. There's a hydrogen supply, it's delivered, it's either done on site, and then there's the fueling elements, whether we're bunkering, onshore fueling. And then I think one of the biggest things that people have mentioned about ports is the ability to have this aggregated demand, and that's really what's going to drive costs down. I mean, you see it, right, in gasoline at fueling stations, there's an aggregated demand there. The price of gasoline would be higher if there wasn't C-stores everywhere, kind of thing. So it's really starting to think about how we aggregate the different uses of hydrogen at ports. And then there is challenges we all have to be cognizant of, and this is codes and standards, safety, knowledge base, and all the different stakeholders that are pulling and pushing in different directions. So that's sort of the context we see that has to be, I think, acknowledged to successfully move hydrogen adoption in ports forward, and i.e. greenhouse gas reductions in an area. Next slide. So this is just summarizing up some of the messaging that we've been giving to governments that, we need regulations. The low carbon fuel regulation is great. If it extends to maritime use, I think that would be very, very good. That comes in the carbon pricing side of things. There is funding needed to get going. There's a lot to learn for these early projects, and I'd say it's in our mind, it's all about packaging it up so it is done by all a variety of engineering firms and application users, that it becomes simple and the same as the incumbent fuels. And market support is important. Getting when you're looking at hydrogen supply, making things bankable. If there's high risk, you're looking at trying to do returns on capital of 15 to 20%. If there's low risk and bankable, it's 2, 3, 4% capital. So it makes a huge difference for everybody to understand. So I will leave it at that. Sorry to speed through all that, but I think some of the discussions will be partaking in that. It'll be super interesting and hopefully helpful all around.